Hey cats, what's happening? Welcome today. Spring's in the air. Not quite here yet. We're just getting into the beginning of March, and it's a little chilly today. I mean, it was below freezing this morning, but the sun's warming things up. Come on in the man cave here. It's quite comfortable in here today. Temperature, indoor temps about 55 degrees in here, so perfect for fooling around with the bike. Perhaps you're like me, you're getting itchy to ride. Yeah, maybe that's why they call me Itchy. I am getting itching to ride, but not quite there yet. And so I like to come out and tinker. So what are some things that I can do to prepare for the ride coming up? Perhaps you're planning to take a trip. Maybe you're just happy to go around the block the first time this season. Nonetheless, you don't want to just take your bike out after it's been sitting for a while. Now, my motorcycle sits all winter. I started it up a couple times. You guys heard me start it up and run it. I can start it up right now. It'll fire right up. And I do keep some maintenance on it, but I'm going to go over some basic things that you'll want to do before you take it out for the first time in the season. Now, I know some of you guys this is already common stuff to you, but for some of you it may be helpful. Number one, first thing you're going to want to do is look at your tire pressure. Your front tire pressure and your back tire pressure could be a little bit different depending on what kind of motorcycle you're riding. Now, how do you know how much air pressure to put in your tire? It's usually posted on the side of the tire. You probably can't read it, but it's real small print around the edge of the tire there. And this front tire says 40 psi maximum. If you look at the specs on this motorcycle, this is a 1999 Fat Boy. You'll see that it's a little less. It specs this front tire at 38 pounds. Now, when I know the exact tire pressure that goes in there, I don't always remember it all the time. So, I got my air compressor here, and right on the wall there, I wrote my tire pressure, the front and the rear. Because, I've got vehicles here, I've got an RV, they all got tires, they all got different pressures. I can't remember those numbers. So I write it down. That way I know what it is. So yeah, the first thing I'm going to do is check my tire pressure. I bought these cool little, I got a neat little gem in the middle. I think I got them when I was in Sturgis. Yeah, boy. See, it's been sitting, and I'm only showing about 20 pounds. And that's where I want to be. Now, you may have noticed I've got 3 different tire gauges here. I've got this tire gauge that I use on the truck. It doesn't seem to work on the motorcycle, though, because it doesn't seat deep enough. So I've got these other ones that have a much shallower seat on them, which are better to check. And I use both of them to make sure that I got the right pressure, because I don't always trust these tire gauges. Some of them might be a little stickier than others, so I take the air pressure with both of them, and when they both show the same thing, I know for sure that I got the right tire pressure in there. All right, now we'll do the back. Checking the rear, I'm about 30 pounds, so I'm about 14 pounds short. I'm going to have to put some air. I'm going to have to squirt some air in there too. Yep, and we're up to 44 pounds. That's exactly where I want to be. So I'll put my caps back on. Make sure these things get put on snug. You don't want to lose a nice little expensive valved cap, which I've done before. Now the interesting thing is those tires were fine last season when I was riding. So just over the winter, and you know, the deep freezes can cause a little bit of seepage on the rims too. Just over the winter, I had lost about 15 pounds or more in each tire. Now here's something that gets neglected by a lot of riders. You don't really think about it too much, but you'll need to take a close look at the wear on your tires. If we get down here where we can really see the tread on there, this tire's got plenty of tread on there. It's in good shape. I just replaced that, and I haven't done any long distance riding, but I have on occasion over the years that I've been riding. I get down there to check the tread and be like, whoa, I didn't know my tread was worn down that far. One time you could even see the cords showing through on the tire already, so lucky it didn't blow on me. I run Dunlops, and they're a softer rubber. They get good traction. And I like to take off pretty fast. So the torque I'm putting on that back wheel is really chewing the rubber off of there a little faster than if you just rode like Grandpa. So, you know, if you're hard on it on the throttle, it'll wear your tire a little faster. If you're taking those long trips out to Sturgis and whatnot, you're going to put a lot of wear on these in a hurry. So you want to keep a close look on your tire tread. Next thing you're going to want to do is check the oil levels. Now, depending on the make and model of your bike, your oil check may be in a different place. Mine is right here on the side of the oil tank. Some of them are under the seat. Now, the proper method to do this, you're going to have to level the bike. So I'm going to get on the bike. While I'm holding the bike up level with my legs, I'm going to pull that dipstick out, and you'll see the oil level is right at that mark on there. I'm going to wipe the oil off of there. You can see there's like a little groove in the dipstick. That's where you want the oil to be. I'll stick it in there one more time and pull it out. Yep. And my oil level is good. Now I just changed my oil not too long ago here. So it doesn't always have to be this difficult. When I'm holding the camera in one hand and trying to do these projects in the other hand, it can be a little tricky. But I just changed my oil and the oil filter about the middle of last season, so I'm still good on that. I haven't put that many miles on it. Now, before you check your motor oil, let the bike run for a little while to warm up the oil. And here's what might happen, depending on what make or model you have. You have the oil in your oil tank here, which can seep down into the bottom of the engine. Now, down in the bottom of the engine, there's not a whole lot of oil, but there's a sump in there, or a pump, that circulates the oil from the tank around through the engine. In some older bikes, you let them sit for a long time, like through a season. Some of that oil can drain from the oil tank and seep down and actually fill up the bottom of the motor there more than what it's designed to hold. You check your oil, you find your oil's low, you fill it up, and then you go to start your bike, and that excess oil that's in that sump there will fill your tank all the way up real quick, and it might even pop your plug off, and you'll have oil all down the side of your bike. So let it run for a few minutes, let the oil warm up before you check the oil. Now there's two other things you're going to want to check too. You're going to want to check your primary oil that is in here, and this is called the derby cover, and mine has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts that hold the derby cover on. You'll have to take all of those off. There's an O-ring in there. It can be reused once, maybe you can get by with twice. Mine needs replaced. I'm not going to do that today. I'm not going to take it off today. What I'm going to do though is drain my primary oil completely out of there. I'm going to pull the derby cover off, and I have a brand new O-ring. I haven't even opened it yet, but there's an O-ring in here. That'll go on there, and I'll top off the primary oil. You can see I've got a newspaper under there that's been catching a drip. So something's dripping there, and I think it's dripping from the derby cover, because when I wipe my finger under the derby cover, that's what I get. So I'm hoping that by replacing this O-ring, I can get rid of that drip. And I won't have to keep a piece of newspaper under there to catch it. When you do, if you do find, well, let me back up. When you do check your primary oil, your bike has to be level. So I put it on my motorcycle stand where it levels the bike, and it'll lift it up where I can work on it and see everything easier. And then you're going to want to look inside the, once you get the derby cover off, you're going to want to look down inside there, and you want the oil up to the bottom of the clutch. You'll see the clutch plate in there, but you don't want it up on the clutch. You want it down below the clutch. And that's how you check that oil. If you had to add oil, I've showed you this before, somewhere in here. Okay. Oh, there it is. This is the funnel. It's kind of a wacky little thing, but once the derby cover is off, this will snap down in there, and it makes like a funnel where you can pour the oil in without getting it all over the floor. Without one of these funnels, it could be a little tricky getting oil in there. And you can pick these up on eBay or you know, probably any bike shop would have them. So that's a little more in depth, checking the primary oil. It isn't like something you can just do in 30 seconds, such as checking your motor oil. But you should take some time to remove those, remove the derby cover, and make sure that your primary level is where it's supposed to be. The other level you're going to want to check is your transmission oil. On my Fat Boy, I've got a transmission plug right there that comes out with a Allen, like I don't know, 3/8 size, something like that. And it's the same kind of dipstick as your motor oil. With the bike level, you're going to want to screw that down till the O-ring touches, screw it back out, check your level, and you can add some fluid to top that off too. Make sure all those levels are up. It's a good, it'll prolong the life of your engine and your transmission, everything, to keep those levels at the proper place. And if you do a lot of riding, you'll want to make the oil changes too. You'll want to change those out with fresh oil. Okay, there's one more tip I'm going to give you before you take your bike out on the road. And this one's pretty important for me. I do it every season. Usually at the end of the season I check it, and before I go out riding at the beginning of this season, I'm going to check it again. You're probably wondering what I'm going to have you check next. On my bike, the battery is under the seat. Okay, I just bought this battery not too long ago, and it's in pretty good shape, but you have a couple of leads here. You've got your positive and your negative leads, and right where they bolt onto the battery, and this one's got some grease on it, which keeps it from corroding. But these can get corroded very quickly. You'll see like that white powdery stuff caked around them. And if that's the case, you need to take the battery out of there, pull those terminals off of there, and clean that really good. . Put it back together and get some grease on there. Nothing worse than going on the road and all your electric shuts off and you're scratching your head going, what the heck's going on? Only to find out that you got a shorted out battery terminal because it's corroded. It's a real simple fix. It's not a big deal, but it can make a big difference on keeping your battery charge up and not having an issue down the road later. Now the other thing we can do is one more trick here. Turn our ignition on. I'm going to check my turn signals. Okay, that one's working. My headlights are all working. Front one's working. And the back one's working. My tail light's good. Awesome. So I think I'm ready to ride. I don't know, the other thing I like to do is just check for loose bolts. I found the one time my passenger foot peg was almost ready to fall off. The nut was loose on there. Just kind of go over and make sure that there's no other leaks, loose bolts, anything like that. Well, cats, there you go. Those are my tips for today. Perhaps I forgot something. If so, leave your comment down below and let me know what you like to check before you take a ride at the beginning of the season. Some of you guys are lucky enough that you're riding all year round. Yeah, that would be nice. That would be ideal. But here in Northeast Ohio, there's about 5-6 months that we're kind of stranded, depending on what the weather is, that we can't ride. So thanks for joining us today. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the videos. We would love to have you on board with us. Until next time, cats, ride hard and die free.